welcome to Layback with Betfair. Joined by the A-team, we're back.
Hello and welcome to a massive edition of Layback with Betfair. We've rolled out the red carpet for the one and only Racing.com's Ben Asgari, who's filling in the seat this week for Tom Haylock. He's in Adelaide for a wedding. We've obviously got Clance here, who we love seeing as well. But Ben, it's awesome to have you here. Very exciting.
Terrific. Long-time viewer, first-time participant. So great to be on.
What about you, Clance? How's things, mate?
Things are very well. It's great to have. I saw an open checkbook as I walked into the studio, and it looked like it was some very thick numbers on there. So it doesn't surprise me at all. It's great to have Ben with us for one of the great cards in Sydney.
I know Ben watched last week, but I just want to fill you in on Clance's lay streak. He laid just fine at $3 on the Thursday and drifted out to $9. Unfortunately, you got the BSP on that one. I looked at the results and I was like, oh no, Clance is going to be shattered at this.
Did you manage to get to lay anything at a shortish price?
So it was $2.55 when we were on the show on Thursday. That is crazy. And so I nibbled there, but there wasn't a whole lot to lay. So I laid at $3.10 and $3.20 for bugger all.
Yep.
And I rock up to the races on Saturday and one of our colleagues, Chrissy, was there. And she goes, I've just seen you've laid a $9 shot. What are you doing there? And I was like, give me some context here. Yeah. This is ridiculous. But, you know, such is the business of laying on a Thursday.
Yeah, that was good analysis from you because you laid it very early and the price was there. I hope you had a couple of dollars on.
Only a very small amount, as I said, at $3.10 and $3.20. But, geez, Linderwood was impressive. Finally put them away. I think the gelding's done the trick with that horse.
Looks in trouble just fine, doesn't it? At least for this prep.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like, the horse has just not come up this preparation. Put it away. I'm happy they gave it a second crack, but I think now we can all be under the same understanding that horse isn't up, send it back, and hopefully set it for the spring.
Well, as we do, we kick off the show with the lay bin, and we don't need to hold Ben Asgari's hand through this one. I reckon he's going to get angry straight off the bat. You're a lay bin sort of guy. What do you got for us this week?
Oh, there you go. So,
a lay bin sort of guy.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
It's a
compliment on Layback with Betfair.
I'm going to start with the positive, and then we'll come in with the negative at the end of it. I thought that the All-Star Mile was fantastic. I thought the best horse won. I thought the performance was outstanding, and I thought the discussion post-race was terrific for racing. What really annoyed me, though, is the fact that there are people out there thinking it's negative for racing for some people to have opinions. As long as everybody's playing the ball and not the man, then the discussion is healthy and it's creating more betting for an exciting Australian Cup coming forward. I really get annoyed when everyone says you can't have an opinion on a ride, etc., because you haven't ridden in a race or jockeys are putting their lives on the line, which they are doing, etc. But I thought there was it went from being a really healthy discussion that was positive for racing to all of a sudden you either wanted Craig Williams on the horse next time or you didn't want him on Mr. Brightside next time. It's not about that. People were just having a healthy discussion, which was creating debate and interest in horse racing, which I thought was fantastic. Amazing performance, amazing race, great ride the winner. I think she's gone to a new level. And I think regardless of where Mr. Brightside settled, Pride of Jenni, who I tipped, by the way, would have won the race. But I think the debate was really healthy around Mr. Brightside and good for racing is how I thought.
You are absolutely spot on. I love the discussion. Like it is what it is in terms of people getting angry. But I think the fact that we're talking about it post-race, the All-Star Mile, is something that we need to talk about. I think you're absolutely spot on.
I'm going to lay myself for tweeting.
No.
I have a golden rule. Just don't tweet. Oh, I've tweeted.
Unless it's about the Ds.
Then I was getting clipped for having an opinion. And it was,
please.
Just isn't that the point of the game? Like we have an opinion. Some people are going to differ. You'll probably be wrong more than you're right, but it creates wagering, it creates discussion, it creates interest in the sport.
And you'd have to say the happiest person about all of this would be Matty Welsh. He's got an amazing race between two stars of the turf. That's all this communication, all this interest that's come out afterwards. And I'm with you. A lot of the focus has been Mr. Brightside this, Mr. Brightside that. Can we focus on this mare's performance?
Oh,
what an absolute start.
Yep.
How good was that? And it was great. It's great to watch a fast mare be let to be fast. and was just way too good for them on the occasion. I loved it. And it's, Brightside was great chasing. Cascadian was great. I'll tell you the one thing I'm super disappointed is how under the radar would Gold Trip have gone into the Australian Cup?
Yeah.
Well, I went on to the futures markets yesterday, so I was thinking about it and thinking he shouldn't be third line of betting here. This also should be just about favourite for an Australian Cup. And from what I've heard, the last time I've heard people talking about markets, he's $6 to $8 in that range somewhere. It's not going to start that. Everyone's going to all come to the same conclusion that he's the one. And he was out of the markets, and I went on Twitter and learnt that he'd done attendance, so I saved myself by a couple of hours there.
Yeah.
Very disappointing. I'm with you. I think he was probably the one.
Just quickly, because I love the conversation, I'm going to keep this one going. Just quickly, let's talk about Fangirl, Mr. Brightside, and Pride of Jenni. 1,600, good for Flemington, who wins?
Pride of Jenni at the moment, yeah, for sure, because she gets those other two out of their comfort zone.
Yep. What about you, Clance?
Well, I mean, based on our current evidence, has to be Pride of Jenni, but I'd love to see it because the best thing about what Pride of Jenni does is no matter what the race shape, she dictates. The problem with Mr. Brightside and Fangirl is they need a few things to go their way, whereas Pride of Jenni just takes that all out. And they're the horses you'll love to be on. They put themselves on speed, they give themselves every opportunity to win, and they take it out of the other horse's hands. So she's just great to watch.
So should we
I do think if you want to beat Pride of Jenni, you've got to be close to her. I know there's all the discussion. We're going to get into this about going fast, and she goes that fast that it's hard to get close. But if you're out the back, you just can't beat her.
Well, you can't go to sleep. Tactics are so important. I love the conversation.
How do you beat her? You go back to the TJ Smith.
Well, have a look at what Amelia's Jewel did. Now, this is that, Damien Lane sat up close to her, broke the track record and beat her, but she was flat the next start. So it is really good discussion because if Mr. Brightside goes forward, even if he finishes closer, regardless of whether he beats her, they might not have had a horse for an Australian Cup. So there's so many angles to it. It's terrific discussion. It's why I think it's great for the sport. And back to my Laban, why I think we shouldn't be suppressing it. People shouldn't be telling people not to have an opinion. It's great. Bring it on. Everyone have a crack and put your money where your mouth is and have a bet too.
Well, I suppose it's time to start talking about her as one of the best horses in Australia because we talk about Fangirl and Mr. Brightside as one of the best. So Pride of Jenni definitely needs to be in the conversation. Let's go to the Valley. We're only covering 2 races at the Valley. Obviously, the Group 1 Willie Reid we're going to get to, but we're going to start off with the Group 2 Alistair Clark Stakes. Before we go into that, we'll just quickly talk about the track. Rail is in the true position. We're expected to be on a good 4. Do you think, Clance, we might get an upgrade at some point? It's going to be a bit windy.
I could get to a good 3, sure, but I imagine they'll put a little bit of irrigation on the track to make sure it's at the lower end of a good 4, and hopefully they end at a good 4 or just steading into that good 3.
How are you reading it? I know at the Valley, when you get Rail True late in the season, you can get that compacted inside section. It hasn't necessarily been... For most of the season, it hasn't been like that, but I always get worried when we start getting towards late March that it could be tough to make ground.
Yeah, I think that combines well with the fact that we've got really big fields, right? So they're going to have to work for the lead. Like none of these 8-horse fields where the leader gets gifted and can run away. They have to work to lead, and if they've done that early work, that tempo relate brings the back markers into it anyway. So I'm playing for a fair track, and we'll reassess as it goes.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start with the speed. Ben, have you done the speed for this one? It looks like John Bond may lead, but what do you think?
Yeah, well, you got Verdad's not going to be too far away. What do they do from a wide draw with Rise at Dawn? There's a few horses that they're going to need to make decisions on. I thought naturally Big Field and Moonee Valley, there'd be a little pressure. How do you see it?
Yeah, similar the same. And there's a horse that's drawn wide that Sutton and Young would be filthy with, which is Sunsets, because they've said that he's half a run shy as well.
Yep.
And we saw what he did to Riff Rocket in the spring when he went to the lead and was so hard to run down. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that from barrier 13. I think they probably take their medicine and just have a good run for next start.
Similar thing at Puglia. What do they do with him? Like, the barrier really, like, you're probably second up, heading towards Derby's not going to push the button and roll forward early. So it makes it a bit tougher for him.
What are we going to do with the favourite in the race? Quintessa, Tiako's Quintessa, obviously comes out of the Australian Guineas behind Riff Rocket, who we're also going to see Quintessa Group 1 this weekend. What are we doing with Quintessa?
Yeah, cracking horse. And geez, Tiako will be wrapped for Saturday. That's it. Moonee Valley's their Australian home. and they got Quintessa, and they've got Imperatriz, and they've got Campionessa as well. So 3 genuine chances and some great races. Quintessa's on top, but I don't want to find at the price. I got marked closer to the 550 range, so you can't possibly be with it at this stage. The two I'm keen to find, my most keen bet is Basilina, which was, probably comes into barrier 6 post scratchings, ran so well from the back in the CUNY last start, and improves again out to that 2040 that we've got on Saturday. Keen to see that horse go around about the 750 mark currently. Apulia is another one that I'm actually going to have a bet on at 850 early. There's no doubt we'll need luck in running. This is a really messy race with this big field, but suited out to the 2040 and was at that stage a really big career peak in the Vars last prep, and so likes the track, likes the 2040, is going to need luck in running. But we're getting $9 about a horse that's been beaten a pimple in that Group 1, which was at the Derby, over 2,500. So. Keen to be with those two at some reasonable prices. Nothing against Quintessa, just too short early.
Couldn't agree more. I think she's got to be one of the favourites, Quintessa, but don't want to find her at that price. It was just about a career peak, Basilina, last time out. She looks like she's come back better this preparation, and off last campaign, she's only going to be better suited rising in distance. The one I'm going to completely forgive last start and back each way at the price in this race would be Zip Away. On face value, he was poor in the Australian Guineas, but it wasn't a good day to be wide, working on a fast speed, facing the breeze. I'm just going to put the pen through the run entirely. I thought he was pretty good behind Snow Patrol at 1,400 a trip, short of his best at Caulfield. And that Group 1, even though form's been only moderate out of it in 1,800 metres in Perth, the Northerly, I thought that sort of performance would put him in the mix here. So he's going to get a really soft run for Declan Bates, just in behind the speed. And if he gets the breaks at the right time, I think he can run better than his price of $13 would suggest.
Perfect, guys. Well, looking forward to that race. Let's go over to the Group 1. William Reid over 1,200 metres. Obviously, the best sprinter in the world, Imperatriz. We get to see her again. She gets a 5.5 kilo weight swing on cylinder, and she's looking to become or join Black Caviar and Apache Cat as a 2-time winner of the race. And obviously, Manicato won the race 5 times, an absolute star horse. But how do you see the speed in this one, Clance?
So you've gone back away there to find Manicato's 5-time victory of the race.
It was one of my favourites to watch.
Down to the another one of just before you were born. It's not hard to see that there's stacks of pace in this race. You got Hypothetical, you got Q-Man. They both did it from the Oakley Plate, and they were awarded in a race that favoured the on-speed horses. The Astrologist is going to leave nothing in the tank from out wide, goes forward. You think Cylinder from barrier 1's a bit tricky, probably gets stuck in behind those leaders coming around that tight turn. The beauty of this horse is that she can go forward, she can go back, she can do whatever you like. I think the reason we're getting $1.90, $1.92 on the exchange currently is because she drew 10 of 11, and it shouldn't matter at all. If the pace isn't there and people don't want to take it on, she can roll to the front. If not, she can sit back and loop them like she did against Giga Kick and Co. last preparation. So she's the best horse. She's the best sprinter in the world, in my opinion. I've got her marked $1.70. I think she's a bet, and I think she'll win.
Yep.
I think she deserves favouritism. I think she's backable at the current price on the exchange. If you knew the track was going to be playing that you could run on, I'd just rather take a shorter price, knowing you can run on, because it could get a little scary if it's one of those compacted inside lanes and she's covering ground. And a horse like a Cylinder and Bella Nipotina, who are drawn, they're pretty good horses. They're only a couple of lengths off her if they were drawn in the right part of the track and you couldn't make ground. So that would be the only thing. I'd rather take a shorter price, and even if it's 10% shorter, to know that you can run on. So clearly she's the best horse in the race, deserves favouritism. Just want to see that you can run on before I could take odds on about it.
Well, 5 of the last 7 winners have been fillies or mares. Have a listen to these. So Imperatriz, obviously last year, September Run. Masked Crusader was the one that wasn't a filly or mare, obviously, but Loving Gabby, Sunlight, there's some handy horses. So yeah, she's certainly probably well above that quality as well, Imperatriz.
Those races and those horses. See, to me, that is Friday night at the Valley, Group 1 racing. And that's so exciting. I think it's lost a touch going to the Saturday.
Yeah,
I love those Friday nights. That Coliseum-like atmosphere at the Valley. You go to William Reid and you go to Manukata, you make them your 2 for the year, and they are just my favourite to go to. So they bring back great memories. I hope it gets back there, given they've just announced a bit different this year. I think Manukata is going back to a Friday night, but it's grand final eve a bit earlier in the season. It's still going to be a bit of fun. But yeah, geez, I'd love to see Imperatriz in the Friday night cauldron at the Valley and sweeping around them late.
Yeah, agree, Clance. Perfect for your racing lovers. I can't wait to watch her again. Let's go over to Rosehill. And traditionally, Benny Boy, the Persian Prince, you haven't had a look at Sydney too much, but I'm excited to get your analysis for this one.
Well, if you're going to dabble, and I'm certainly no Sydney expert by any stretch, but it's good to do it on the very big days where they're national horses that we know, they're the big names. So it was a pleasure doing the form for it. It's a terrific meeting. You're going to have to lean on Clance for your read on how the track's going to play. I have taken good interest in what's happened the last couple of weeks up there. Looked at the forecast. It's a little scary.
I think it was. It really was scary early in the week when Wednesday was looking like a potential of 9 or 10 mils.
Yep.
Coming off the back of last week when they had barely any rain and they still came up with a soft 6 that was really heavily affected. I think it's starting to look better now. I think we're already on a soft 5, soft 6.
Yep.
Soft 6 currently. Yep.
Soft 6 currently, and not much rain expected for the rest of the weekend. 1 to 2 possible Saturday. Yep. So I've set up for a soft 5 with the potential of a soft 6, and I don't think we'll get any wetter than that.
Rail is out 2 metres for the entire. How do you see the track potentially playing?
I think Rosehill, there's quite a few Group 1s that are actually, well, when I say quite a few, we've got the Ranvet, which is a smaller field, and there's only 7 in that. I wouldn't want to be too far off the lead in that race. But the other races with plenty of speed in it, I'd be happy to sit midfield. Wouldn't want to be much further back than midfield at Rosehill, but keen to watch them run on from midfield.
Well, those bigger fields, do you think that they'll get off the fence?
I think we'll see early in the day. That's the beauty of it. I think last week they decided that the rail was off.
Yep.
And so by races 3 and 4, they were coming out like lanes 4, 5, 6 on the leaders.
Yep.
Then you can sort of get a little bit lost on those back markers. They feel they have to come 10 wide, and they come out right in the middle of the track or wider. And it left the trail for those like Zardozi last week who actually went up the rail. It wasn't that bad. So, that's why you pay to have really good jockeys on board and make good decisions in the race.
Well, we're going to talk about the Group 1 Ranvet Stakes first. This is a really tricky race because it's obviously a small field, and the speed is a really tricky one to look at because I think it's going to be slow and a very tactical affair. It should be entertaining, but how do you see the speed in this one, Clance?
Yeah, completely agree. There's not much of it. I think it over Barrier 1 Nash. That answers your speed. He'll go to the front, and he's proven many times over how strong he is on those front running horses, and think it over himself as a horse is extremely hard to run down. That win in the Very Elegant was fantastic. Came from back and then railed up the inside and caught an amazing mare like Fangirl napping. But out to the 2000, everything's going to suit there. I think without a doubt he's too short. He's not a 250, 260 pop. What I find fascinating about these runners is we've got these 2 imports over, and it's so hard to draw a line. I mean, with the ratings that I use, Via Sistina, last 2 starts is the exact same rating that Think It Over produced to win the Very Elegant. But on top of that, she has 2 career peak ratings that exceed that. So on that point of view, I'm going to have Via Sistina equal favourite, and at current prices, got to be backing Via Sistina early. So I've got her marked around about the $3 mark, and we're getting $3.50. So I'll be taking that price and expect Think It Over to drift marginally. A horse that I'm never letting go of is Zayrek at a very big price. Trialled up super before, went out to the country last start, and that was that Jimmy Star race where Jimmy Star was back, got no chance, and I think it was Rustic Steel was off and gone in front, and Zayrek was in behind like Jimmy Star, never got out. So I think on the exchange you'll be finding a top 3 market rather than the only 2 divs that you'll find everywhere else. And that top 3 market for Zayrek, you'll be getting around $7 or $8, and I wouldn't mind having a little dip there. But Via Sistina, the import for Waller. Also think J-Mac was booked for this runner when Waller had a couple of others in the race to begin with as well. And I really like that as a push. So Number 6, Via Sistina for me in the Ranvet.
Yeah, this race was too hard for me. I don't know enough about them. I did know enough about Via Sistina's form to know that it's world class, and it would be no surprise at all. She can bring that form to Sydney and produce it first up. To see her far too good for her opposition. In terms of the horses we know that are up and racing, I think it over of the locals that we know deserves favouritism, but she might be too good for them. I was happy to stay out of this one.
No 8-year-old has won the race since his Zavit in 2011. Think It Over is going to try and do that, so we'll see what happens there. We're going to go to the Group 1 Rosehill Guineas. Lindemann, we spoke about, obviously had a great win last week. He was last year's winner. Animo, Mwanga, Castlevecchio, the Autumn Sun. That was a terrific win back in the day. It's going back a few years now. Far out. I feel like I'm getting old. But Riff Rocket was the favourite in the Guineas. He certainly didn't run badly. Probably didn't find luck coming into the straight in a few areas. But he ran on. What do we make of Riff Rocket in this one, Clance?
Yeah, he was certainly a bit flatter than he was first up, dominant over the 1400. Southport Tycoon just snuck off a little bit. He was really strong through the line. Craig Williams gave him an absolute peach from back in the field, I thought. And third just wasn't a bad result on the day. I think out to 2,000 is only going to be better for this horse. I think we probably all got sucked in over 1,400 thinking, geez, this horse will just win everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know,
Rosehill a little scary for him?
Of course. I mean, he's only seen it once, and he was beaten by that Snowman that day, I reckon, who showed a bit, but never really went to the next level like Riff Rocket did at the time. So, of course, you're going to have reservations there, but I think you can find reservations on every horse in this field if you try hard enough, except the horse that I'm keen to play at a decent price, which is Immediacy. Just beware the unbeaten horse here. He was so dominant in the Autumn Classic. Can he step up again here? That's a great question, but we're getting $7.50 to find out. And if you go through this race about 3 weeks ago looked like being so strong. You obviously had Militarize and you had Celestial Legend to that, and they've both gone different paths. And now you've got Riff Rocket on top, which is from a different form line. I think Riff Rocket and Immediacy be the two that I'm really playing. But you look at the Ranvet Guineas and your horses, Tom Kitten and Cafe Millennium and Chael Wolf and Gambaro and Ducasse, they all cross the line within a length and a half of each other. And Celestial Legend was the one I wanted to take out of it because it had that by far the toughest run and was too strong late. Tom Kitten obviously gets Hugh on Saturday, which the Twitter army have been calling for anyone but Nash, but undoubt will go to a new level over 2,000. But yeah, Riff Rocket and Immediacy, the two that I'm pretty happy to stay with and staying away from that Ranvet Guineas form.
I was about on market, which is pretty boring, thinking that Riff Rocket deserved to be a narrow favourite, but I prefer Randwick than Rosehill. We'd love to have seen him in an Australian Cup. I think he's a terrific Flemington horse, so didn't need to take this sort of 250, 260 in Rosehill Guineas. I thought Tom Kitten was clearly the one out of that race, but I do share reservations over that form. I think he'll love 2,000 metres, Hugh Bowman riding well. And Immediacy's just got so much X factor, some sort of a win in the Autumn Classic last time out, but tougher task here. Probably, I do think, if anything, Immediacy's a touch of over, so not enough that I want to have a bet in the race. It's not one I'm overly comfortable to bet into. There are a few of the Group 1s that I am going to get off the fence in, though, pretty soon.
Yeah, I like that, Benny. I just quickly on Tom Kitten, we didn't speak too much about the map here, but Tom Kitten's an interesting one. Where do you think he's going to sit? Because if he's backmarking and they run a bit quicker than what is potentially going to be the setup, he could be a good lay prospect. He has been one that punters have laid in the past.
Has been. I'm not gutsy enough to do that on Saturday. I'd rather back the $7.50 shot and have a saver on the $3 $2.90 shot rather than take on a horse like Tom Kitten. What price is he?
$3.40.
Yeah, I don't really want to be laying at $3.80 for a horse that went to a massive career peak last start over the 2,000 and brain the opposition. So I'd be happy to back around, but not that keen to lay.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a break covering the races. We've got a few more Group 1s to get through, but I'm really excited for this segment. We're doing a back to school, and the reason why I'm excited is because I love learning from punters, form analysts about how they do form, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the question is, I'll start off with Benny. Obviously, you're on racing.com, a presenter there, but you're one of the main form analysts. I want to know how you approach a meeting, say Flemington next week. You've got a Oz Cup Day.
Yep.
How will you approach that meeting?
Yeah, so at the moment where I'm at is I'm trying to juggle form with everything that's going on at home. So I've got a new baby, 3 kids, etc. So I have a probably unique approach to a lot of form analysts in that with work commitments, I'll put a lot of work into the meeting I'm doing, but it's probably a hard time for me to have sort of a database that I'm updating constantly and reviewing a lot of meetings. So it means I have to spend more time on the individual meeting I'm doing, but I try and treat each horse at the meeting like a blank canvas and not go in with too many premeditated ideas. So I'll do my speed map for each race, go to each horse, write my notes on each horse. I've got, form database I use, like punting form. I know there's other really good ones out there, whether they're, a lot of people using Form King, etc. at the moment, but I'm using punting form. I'll have a look through the numbers of each horse in the race, and I'll watch replays, and then I'll sort of at the end of it all have a rough market of what I think the horses should be. Hopefully I've got around to doing the form before the markets come up, and then I'll let the market price influence my prices, because I do like to respect what the market is, and if there's horses I think are over the odds, I'll back them.
Yep, I like that, Benny. And just because I've worked with you in the past, and I know that when we have discussions, we talk about where you potentially put most of your focus. Is it more on the replay side of things, or are you looking more at the speed maps?
Oh, I like to build a profile on a horse. It's so different. I like to treat every race like a blank canvas, every horse differently. So everything's different. It's not sort of one thing or another. So what might work for one race for me is something different for another race. So a horse's profile is probably something that I like to forgive horses a run where I think they've had genuine excuses. Sometimes I think the market can be really heavily swung towards last start performances. So I think there can be some value to be found in forgiving a horse a run where they had a reason to forgive them. So yeah.
Also a good opportunity to lay if the market's potentially gravitating to something that is focused on their last start performance or whatever it is. But Clance, are you a little bit different? How do you approach form?
That's such a fascinating conversation in itself, right? Because if, for example, as we were talking about earlier, Just Fine was 255 versus Lindemann even money last week. If Just Fine had come out with EIPH on occasion or some form of lameness, or any of those sort of really big issues, you can easily forgive that, strike a line through it, go back to prior ratings and mark it 250.
You just wanted to see a good run and start prior though, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly right. Whereas now there was no real excuse out of that run, and so now you're sitting there going, well, okay, we'll take on that in the early market. Sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes the market does firm from there and you go, okay, I got it wrong, that's fine. But if you're consistent in your approach every time, generally you'll end up in the long run being in front. The way I approach form is a delicate blend of subjective and objective tools. So for Saturday's race meeting, your noms come out Monday, your acceptances come out Wednesday. Tuesday night, I'll try and do all of my subjective work early. So I'll do the race replays and I'll do all the videos so that by the time the fields come through on a Wednesday, and I use software called GTX. So once the fields come through there, that's a very objective ratings-based software where they don't take into account luck in running. They don't take into account tempo. They just have raw data. And so I like to overlay the subjective video sort of stuff from the previous night and then get the objective in, and the objective numbers sit there, and I go and fiddle with those to come up with my ratings for each runner in each race. And then hopefully, as Ben said, it's never usually goes this cleanly, but hopefully by the time the markets come out, you've already got yours ready to go and you can play from there. That's why you see so many fast early moves, because there's a lot of differing opinions when those markets come out on a Wednesday, and that's the fun of it, right? Sometimes you take overs, sometimes you take unders, and sometimes you back a winner and sometimes you back a loser.
Do you know how I do my form? I just put my ear pods in before I go to sleep and I just listen to the dulcet tones of Ben Asgari and Liam Clancy.
Does that mean you listen to yourself as well?
No.
Giving your ear with us?
Definitely not the punters show. is one I definitely listen to as well. So, yeah, very, very interesting. And I like to take opinions. I love reading all the content on Betfair. I love reading the content on racing.com. I think a really great piece was one that Brent Zarafa put out about how the whole map will work out for the Willie Reid on the weekend. And I love understanding the different opinions, and it's why the great game is so good, and why, as we were speaking about before, as many opinions as possible in the game is awesome. I love, the ones being against the horse as opposed to being for the horse. And yeah, I think it's a key part about doing form is obviously listening to the people around you, but at the same time, you probably got to back yourself in, right?
Yeah, you do. You just try not. I do consume a lot of racing content. I'm quite a bit of a racing nuffy, but I like to more have done my form and have my own opinions, and then I'll just be interested in what people want to know after. It's not really going to sway my opinion, but I just am interested in what they have to say. I like the review content as well. There's lots of different offerings out there. There's a lot of smart minds out there, and people are going to pick up things that you miss too. So it can be helpful.
Sorry, go on, Clance.
I was just going to say, like, some of the smartest punters in not only the country but the world, some of their major tools that they use is the market, right? So if you're heavily against the market, to a degree, you're wrong, right? Like, you need to temper your expectations and come back towards. When I say the market, I mean at jump time, because everything's gone in by that stage. And if you've marked something $5 and it's $5 on a Wednesday, and you think, oh, I got it right, but it's $2 by jump time on the weekend, you got it wrong. Like, it's probably a 250 shot or a 240 shot or something like that. So that's very, very important to notice. But as Ben said, like, on a Wednesday, if I've got everything done by Wednesday night for Saturday, then I'll consume, Gator on a Thursday. I'll see Benny's ratings on the Melbourne meeting come through on a Wednesday evening, and you compare. You go, oh, well, that gives me slightly more confidence because someone who specialises in that field agrees. Yep. Or, not even in the top 4 numbers. I wonder, you go through their notes and you say, oh, got a place chance or whatever like that. And you start to take all that in, and it's exciting. And then you do the Sunday review and you get a bit of everything.
So last question before we move on, but is there an analyst or a pro punter that you listen to, a voice that you like to, help dissect a race or whatever it is in the media now?
Oh, there's no standout. There's so many good ones out there. There are so many really good analysts. I always thought the standout was Dean Lester. There's so many guys out there who can win, long term. I think what separated Dino for everyone was he just saw things that others didn't, just in the sport itself, and he was able to just understand the sport itself, I think, better than just about anyone. So he was always a standout for me. But there's lots of very good analysts and punters out there.
100%, guys. Good chat. I really enjoyed that one. Love learning from you guys. Let's move over to the next race. We're going to analyse the Group 1 George Ryder Stakes over 1,500 metres. Animo won last year. There's actually been a bit of stewards news come out very recently. It's Think About It revealed a slightly elevated white blood cell count. Have we got something to worry about there, guys?
Not ideal.
It's one of those classic lines. It's can't help. Certainly can't help. But you're backing that. It's nice and early. You're backing Joe. Like, I'm not going to question Joe Pride at all. If he thinks the horse is ready to run from barrier 17.
Notice since that came out, he has started easing in the market.
Think a bit of funny buggers are at play, or
No, not at all. I just noticed that people are happy to let you have a better price if you want to back him.
I mean, that's what the Betfair exchange is. It's very reactive to news and things that happen in the media. But how do you see the speed in this one, Clance?
Yeah, it's a cracking race, isn't it? I mean, you go back 2 weeks or 3 weeks and Fangirl's a dominant favourite into $2 off a losing ride in the Very Elegant, or a losing race. But now all of a sudden we've got a capacity field, and it's certainly not going to stunt turnover. We've got fantastic one, but I think Amenable and Golden Mile probably look to take the lead. You might even have a bit of speed from Unspoken up in barrier 1, but there's speed everywhere you look. The ones that are coming from the back are probably going to have the advantage here, given that even Lady Laguna, Bandersnatch from out wide, Navajo Peak's always going to settle close. Tis Invincible's one down in the weights, barrier 6. I don't think they're going to be going too far back. They're going to want to be up there. So for those reasons, I'll be looking towards those coming from the rear. And my first bet in the race is a horse, one start in Australia for Kieran Ma is New Energy. We're getting $18, $19 at the moment. Probably pretty stiff not to win first up over 1,300 when the leader Fearsome just got away. But amazingly strong splits late. Barrier 16 probably won't hurt this horse too much because it would have gone back anyway. So at a big price, keen to find there. The two, obviously, I have shorter in the market is Think About It, getting out to the 1,500 with the eye to get to the Doncaster Mile over the mile. Of course, the Stewards news this morning isn't going to help, but this is a horse that I've laid 7 of its last 7 and left me with not much money in my bank account. Finally, I've started getting a few back last start. So a bit of context there. I'm normally really keen to take this runner, but very, very strong credentials, and we're finally getting $4 plus about it. And from a pure price point, starting to be keen to find this horse. Lady Laguna is one that I could certainly entertain if I thought that she was going to get to the 1,500. Great career peak last start, running past the likes of Think About It. And also Espiona was mildly unlucky sitting further back, but take nothing away from Lady Laguna. She was fantastic. I just have reservations over the 1,500, but I love that they're having a throw at the stumps. New Energy, main bet for mine at a big price. And if Think About gets any bigger, I'm going to have to step in at some point.
Yeah, if he kept getting bigger, I could almost back him. I think he does deserve favouritism. Think About It. I don't think he had the most efficient distribution of energy to win the race last time out.
It's a very politically correct way to put that.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of merit to his performance. He can, there's some little, he's so brilliant at sprint trips. There's got to be some little query at 1,500, but I still think he deserves favouritism. So the horse I thought was too short in the market is Militarised, who I was a huge opinion of last preparation. I was hoping he was going to be something special. Didn't quite lived up to the raps I thought he may this time in. I just don't have a huge opinion of that 3-year-old group as a whole. So I'd be happy to be against Militarised, happy to be against V8. Out of that same race, I thought Kovalika was terrific. I thought New Energy was terrific. I think both of them will be back. I feel like I probably would be going a run early and they're both going to peak Doncaster Day. Maybe they don't need to get as far back if they draw a gate, but I just think it's the wrong price for both of them. It's $19 about each. I'm happy to have something small each way on Kovalika and New Energy. I thought they were both terrific last time out. They might be among the best horses in the race and we're getting $19 to find out. So, they're going to be map negative. That's why we're getting a big price, but you don't need much on to find out at $19. So I'm going to back both of them, Kovalika and New Energy each way.
Yeah, Clance mentioned a couple of horses there, Lady Laguna and Think About It, who have very wide barriers. Only 2 horses have won from double-figure barriers since the year 2000. So I think with...
Has there been many fields that have even had double figures, though, in that time?
Well, you think Winks fields were all would have been, 5, 6, 7 horses where not many taking them on.
Well, here we're looking at obviously a massive field, and I think About It, before the Stewards news came out, he's around the $4.50 mark on the Betfair exchange now. Will probably drift a little bit more, but if there was a 3 in front of his name, I definitely think he's a lay prospect, probably getting out a little bit too much. But yeah, I'm keen, just I don't think the barrier's right for it. I'd probably even rather Lady Laguna in 12, which is inside a little bit more. And that horse is in terrific form and races very entertainingly. I love watching her race.
Yeah, from a lay perspective, I'm again with Ben, like Militarised, I'd be actually happy to lay that horse to place. Dropping back to the 1,500 from the mile, when the original plan was a Rosehill Guineas over 2,000, there's just so many question marks there. There's a lot of early market support into $5. I don't think that can possibly stay at that price. So I'll be laying at the moment as close to $5 as you can. And you're probably laying $2.20, $2.30 a place, which is phenomenal value. So that's what I'll be doing on the lay side.
A couple of good lay prospects there. Let's talk about the Group 1 Golden Slipper. Oof. It's going to be a cracking race, and I think it's a fantastic race to bet into. Shinzo obviously won last year. Fireburn the year before hit $280 in play before going to win on Betfair. Look, this is a really strong edition of the race, and obviously Storm Boy is unbeaten. There's a lot of shit talking happening in the background. Obviously, James McDonald is on Switzerland, and I reckon he's a little bit upset at the fact that he's off Storm Boy now, and obviously Ryan Moore is on. Just question off the top before we go into the speed, but Is that a massive jockey positive change there with Ryan Moore coming on? I actually think it might be a little bit of a negative.
I don't know either way how strong it is. I don't know if it's a huge positive by any stretch, though. Like, I'm not saying it's a negative, but two very good world-class jockeys. Look, he hasn't ridden the horse before, but he is proven just getting off a plane, getting onto world-class horses and winning Group 1s all around the world, as he showed in last year's Golden Slipper. So I think I'd be neutral if, if I had my choice and it was my decision. I think I'd probably go with J-Mac, but how do you see it?
Very similar. He's possibly top two jockeys in the world. I don't think I'd be complaining having either of them on my horse. And Coolmore can pretty much do what they want anyway. So I'll be leaving that with them. This is one of the most fascinating slippers I've seen in such a long time. You've got most likely the leading 5 chances all coming from the same yard. This is just fascinating stuff. Waterhouse and Bott have done an amazing job with their 2-year-olds this season, as they do most seasons, but this one more so than others, which means they probably hold their cards close to their chest in terms of what they decide to do. Like, there's no doubt they'll have had a chat, but with different connections everywhere, how much do they actually have a say over it?
There looks serious speed in the race, doesn't there? Like, it's a Golden Slipper. There's going to be good speed. There's so much money on the line. There's so much at stake for these horses, but there's some fast horses.
Oh, yeah. So, you've got Fully Lit, Stormboy, Shangri-La Express, Lady of Camelot, Straight Charge. They're 1, 2, 3, 5 and 9. They will be setting a very fierce pace. There's no doubt that Switzerland gets a nice trail off them. So we're going to see a serious race between all of these. I wouldn't be forgetting about the Blue Diamond, the Blue Diamond Prelude, the preview winner in Hayasugi at the $17, $18. Nothing's really gone right for that runner and has won 3 pretty impressive races in a row. There's no query about what the yard think. They certainly give her a great opportunity to go around again. But as respectful of Switzerland as I am, I've been with Stormboy the whole way through, as I think 80% of the population would. They were all holding the futures tickets on Stormboy, and I'm hoping that they all get to collect. What I'll say about this runner is what I love so much about him is that not only in the Magic Millions race, but prior to that as well, sets a nice tempo. But what happens when a horse comes up to challenge him? He finds another gear. He never looks like he's flying. And then a horse comes up and he just goes, no, this is mine. And he finds this extra gear. And I love watching horses do that. So that's a horse that it could be a once in a generational colt. We won't find out until.
He's one of those horses that's very hard to price that, isn't it? It's hard to work in. You're going to have to adjust that yourself and put a lot of your own opinion in.
And from a person who does solely ratings, really hard to. And that's why I continued to think about it last preparation, because he just knew where the line was and he never would let anyone beat him. So it was really hard to price that in. For transparency, I got Stormboy marked 270 and 100% market, and we're almost at what are we on the exchange currently? We're 260, 270 to lay. I think it doesn't take too much imagination to think you'd be getting 270 pretty soon to back this horse. I've played in the future, so there's no real need to jump in at that price for me. But Stormboy's on top, Switzerland second. Hayasugi is the early bet at $17, $18 for mine. And Lady of Camelot rounds out the top 3 for the exotics. I think Coleman still has a really good race in him. So I'll be throwing him in a few exotics. And Espionage, the one that we just don't know at this point, given that never really got out last start. So we'll be throwing in the trifecta. What do you recommend?
I think Stormboy deserves favouritism, but I've got a lot of respect for the opposition. This is a very good Golden Slipper. So at the current price, I think he's just a little short for me to be interested in wanting to back him. That Blue Diamond form is starting to really step up, and it was a high pressure contest, 1,200 metres, and I think with every reason why it's going to show up. So I thought Lady of Camelot was the one the market got wrong when they first went up, and she was double figures, and she just keeps being spec'd in. It was 10 into 9, into 8, into 750, now $7. I still think there's a touch of overs about that. I think Stormboy deserves favouritism, but I'd have Lady of Camelot sort of on the second line with Switzerland. So I still think there's a little bit of an edge about Lady Camelot. So she'd be the horse I'm interested in backing early. If Stormboy, I'd have him a bit longer than you. If he continued to get out beyond $3, then I'd be happy to back him. But I doubt you're going to get that sort of a price. Lady Camelot's a little bit over the odds, and I think Hayasugi's over the odds. So Lady Camelot would probably be the one I'd make a better result, but I could have something small and Hayasugi easily at the price. So I think that Blue Diamond form is just being underrated a little bit by the market, given it was a high-pressure 1,200-metre race. They ran good time. And the thing I like about Lady Camelot, she's done it twice now. The run prior in Sydney was terrific on the clock, and she backed it up. I thought she was running the race in the Blue Diamond. So, yeah, she... I don't know if she can beat Stormboy, but I think she's a better chance of what the market's suggesting she has anyway.
You guys are the opinions. I certainly am not. I like listening to you guys, but I think I'm going to put my lay streak on laying Stormboy. And a couple of reasons why is because I think the horse is too short. And I'm one that looks at those big fields. And if I see a short price favourite, I'll always look to potentially lay. I think there's a little bit of a question on whether he'll suit the track. It's probably going to be soft. We'll see what happens there. It's hard to know on Thursday, time of filming. But look, I'll be pretty worried if the horse firms on Betfair lay, although it's better value to lay. I'll be worried because I think we'll know when punters potentially come for the horse. I think Switzerland is a massive danger as well. And I think James McDonald really, really, really wants to win this race. I'm not counting Stormboy out. I think he's definitely the top favourite of this race, and may go on to win. But I think very short, and I'm keen to lay.
Narrative to be made, if you want to be glass half empty with him. The Magic Millions. What did he beat? He didn't beat much last time in Sydney. The time last time was good without being outstanding. The Magic Millions rated really well relative to the rest of the day, which I thought was great to see. But there is a case that you can make that maybe the market and the boom's got a little bit ahead of what he's actually done. So I can understand it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a case to be made that Carlos hates money if he wants to lay Stormboy. But I mean, there's great cases to be made everywhere.
Just to remind you that I'm 100% so far in my lay streak. I haven't missed one this season.
No, and a big field, 2-year-olds at a short price is generally a pretty good formula.
I think I wanted to lay Gatsby's last week, and I got told I didn't like money as well, and look what happened.
Should have laid it in place.
I should have. I should really put my gonads out there. All right, let's talk about the Group 1, the Galaxy. This is a race I'm really fascinated in because there's going to be strong speed with obviously Front Page into the race. Is a fresh horse. I'm looking forward to Front Page. I think there's something there. But Clance, can you talk us through the speed for this one?
Yeah, my favourite type of race is sprints that are in handicaps in a big field with Group 1 talent. So really excited to tackle this race, and I've got the field $9. So finding a winner here is going to be very difficult, but when we'll be going wide in the quaddie. But Front Page has oodles of speed. I think you'll find King's Gambit wants to sit a bit closer on Saturday as well. Remark is the 1,000-metre specialist first up. It's now 1,100 into its prep. This is its second start now. Osmosis, fascinating runner. I mean, has to be too short at the current quote. Barrier 12. Trialling well, sure, has won a Coolmore. But at this price, in this field, at these conditions, leave me out. It would be my first starting point in the race. I think Sunshine in Paris is a fascinating runner. Was fantastic last preparation. Looks to have come up in the trials. Draws inside, just needs a bit of luck there. I believe Ryan Maloney's never got down to 53.5 before, and is wasting to get down there. So that's a little edge in itself. Benny, how did you see this one panning out?
Yeah, I agree. Osmosis. I think Phil Baker might have gone on after it won the Coolmore and said that everybody at racing.com should lose their jobs because nobody found it. So maybe I'll have to come and call on you, Karl, after I make this the lay of the day in Sydney. And
my phone's always open.
After I lose my job after getting it wrong twice. But he is I just don't like. I thought Cylinder might win that Coolmore, and I think if he ran to anything like he did in the Everest or the Newmarket, he would have won that Coolmore. He was just disappointing on the day. But as far as Coolmores go, it was a low rating edition of it. And now he's up against the older horses. big field. I think he's just too short, so I'd be against Osmosis. I really like Private Eye. I know he's got a bit of weight, but I think he's the best horse in the race. He didn't have much hope staying at 1,000. It was a wrong race for him. Would have loved to have seen him in the Newmarket last time out. Probably would be better suited over 1,200 metres. But 1,100, big field, if you can run on, I think he's best horse in the race and getting $9 to find out. So I'm happy to back Private Eye and be against Osmosis.
Yep.
Geez, I wish I had known where they were going on Tuesday. He was $26 in this market. They thought he still might have been going towards the William Reid, but well, that's what happens when Joe Pride has him in a few different races, and we can say the same for Ma and Waller as well. But as I typically try and do in these handicap races, try and find a few forgotten horses at a big price, and As Four is one of those for me.
Yep. Should have won the race 12 months ago.
Should have won the race 12 months ago, and then we look back at the Oakley Plate, and was an awful start. Was the last out of the gates, and the race was over from there. I think underestimated by the market. I've got around about the $10 or $11 mark, and we're getting $23, $26 on the exchange. So that's an early play. I've got Half Cabin on top, but too short in the market. Should have won first up. I don't think.
Got some news too that King Sparta's out because I assume Snowden's want King's Gambit in. So with Queen of the Ball scratched, they've scratched King Sparta, and that brings King's Gambit into the race.
There we go. Well, that's perfect because I'll be laying King's Gambit in this race. An overhyped, overrated horse that hasn't come back up, in my opinion. I'd be having somewhere in the mid-20s for that horse in my market. So keen to take it on. So As Four is the early play for me, and the other one that I'm not letting go around a loser is Buenos Noches. Things just really haven't gone his way this prep. He was found to be lame last start. I think he's a smoky chance because the career peaks of this horse are up there, not far off Imperatrice, and of course, not quite as good as that horse. But if it brings his best from barrier 3 with a cushy run, I don't want to be letting him go around a loser.
Yeah, I'd have to have something on him, make him. It's a great point you make, and talks to my point earlier. I tipped him in a Newmarket. I had something on him in a Newmarket, and he was flat out disappointing. But with an excuse, he was lame. So for all the reasons I liked him there, now you get $21 to find out. You don't have to really have much on just to keep him on side. So can easily back him. If you're laying King's Gambit, you probably got to. I can understand why you're laying Osmosis. So I remember the day. I don't remember if it was Rosehill or Randwick. King's Gambit gave Osmosis absolute wind burn. So Osmosis is $4.60 and King's Gambit's $14. So I think it's a pretty easy lay for those who want to Osmosis.
Just one we haven't touched on is Passive Aggressive, and a horse that I'm pretty keen on. I really want someone to validate what I'm thinking. What are you thinking, Clance, with this horse?
I wouldn't turn you off there. I think I marked $16. Was a little bit surprised by how well she went first up after coming back from the breeding barn failure. I would not be turning off this horse. Geordie Child's on board. Was only a quarter of a length off a career peak first up. I can't turn you off that.
Yeah, she's terrific first up. I think she's a mare that must have had her issues. She's so good fresh, but she if she runs to her best, she's among many that could win this race. I'm just deferring to the best horse, and I think it's Private Eye. If he brought he's going to have to be at his very best with 58 kilos, but he's probably going to be back in the field too. I think he's capable of, if he gets the right race shape, he's going to need that field to sort of compact and get the back of the right horse into the race and charge late, but I think he's capable of it.
So it's a good race to talk about, and I think that with this race, because it's very competitive, the best place to look easily is the Betfair Exchange before the jump, because you're going to get the best prices by a long way. And we could see a roughie get up here, and you might get 20, 30, 40% better odds on Betfair as opposed to the corporate bookmakers. So the market is going to be super, super important. Anyone got any more last notes on the Galaxy?
I think we've done it to death. But,
I think we have.
We could still not have even talked about the winner. That's how these Group 1 handicaps work, but very much looking forward to it.
Well, it's been a great show. We're going to finish off with our lay streak selections, and as I said, I'm cheekily out there, 100% so far. I've had a couple of $5.50 lays, and they've drifted late, so I know something that the market doesn't clearly early.
Let's put those AirPods in late at night.
Yeah, put the AirPods in. Footy is going magnificently. He's got the most money to play with out of everyone. But before we head to footies, I'll say that, and your guys will listen to Jackson Oldham and see who he's laying this week.
Another week, and can I lay another winner? Moonee Valley, race 10, number 2, Grand Impact. Obviously the best horse in the race. He boasts an $18 SP last start of the Coolmore. Was a Group 3 winner against an informed Lofty Strike prior. It all looks very good in a benchmark 84 here, but the catalyst to the lay is 511 days off, and you just don't go broke laying horses off an extended break like this who are favourite in the Metros. And off raw ratings, he can't be too far away from his peak. He can be a little bit off his peak and win, especially with a positive map here, but he can't be too far away and off that extended period, even though Price Kent are a very, very good camp at getting them to go first up. There's enough in this race that I'm happy to take him on at under $4. I've got this field rated $5.20 the field, so at the price I've got to take him on. Race 10, number 2, Grand Impact.
There we go. So that's Jackson's lay. As I said before, I'm laying Storm Boy. This is going to be my shortest price lay so far of the lay street. Clance, who are you laying this week?
It's a gutsy one too. I like that. The trial pervs are going to be all over me for this. Rosehill, race 4, number 6, Schwartz, 380 currently. Could have all over my face here, but I cannot possibly get this horse anywhere near $3.80. Got it marked small double figure odds. Would need to improve 3 lengths on a career peak just to get to 380. Not to win the race, but to get to 380. So
There you go.
for that reason, I have to take the horse on. There'll be plenty against me, which will be a great reason to find the exchange. The place I'm expecting to be able to lay around about $1.90, but for the lay streak, I will take on Schwartz.
Benny?
Yeah, let's go with Rosehill, race 9, number 13, Osmosis. And look, you can lay the win and the place.
Okay.
Why not? You probably might even be able to lay odds on at the moment. I don't know if you can get much out of it there, but for the place perspective. And then I'll be knocking at the door next week to try and get a job after I go wrong again.
Looking forward to that. Just on Nick Foot. So Nick Foot obviously isn't here today, but he is laying Grand Impact, and he's got 575 liability to play with there. And myself at $371 of liability to play with. Clance, you have 112.50, so looking forward to that. And I think, Benny, we're going to put you in Tom's position here. So you're laying for Tom, and he's got $120 to play with. So, wow.
Just do it all the place. $120 to lay at the place. If it's gone, sorry, Tommy.
Very, very likable. Hey, great show, Ben. Thank you so much for joining us on Layback with Betfair. And of course, congratulations for Teddy. He's a couple of weeks old now, but massive from you. You've got kids coming out everywhere at the minute.
It's great to have some common sense on my left-hand side of the show as well. It's been great to have you.
There's some that say I may need the gelding operation. There's that many going on at the moment. But yeah, good to be a part of it. Very much enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. Ben, looking forward to next week. Hopefully we tip some winners. We'll see you next week on Layback with Betfair.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.